Welcome back to Hero Movement. Today we're going to go through a bunch of squat progressions, many of which can be performed at home. So I'm going to zip through these. Let me know if you've got any questions or comments down below, and there's a link to a more in-depth guide in the description. Let's jump in. So let's start with a basic squat, and we'll begin with just checking in with a deep squat. You can spend some time here. You could hold on to something if you need to, or put your feet onto blocks, raise your heels, just explore that position. Then we have the box squat, so you can reduce the height of the box or the bench to make this harder. Then you can progress it to the air squat, so we're initiating the movement by hinging at the hips, keeping the arches lifted, screwing the feet into the floor. You can add weight in a goblet position to your box squat and take away the support when you feel ready and work on a full goblet squat, trying to keep your chest lifted and really squeezing the glutes at the top. If you don't have any weights but you do have a partner, you can do partner assisted squats, so you can use accommodating resistance here, making it harder on the way down than it is on the way up. If you've got a barbell, then obviously the back squat, high or low bar, whichever you prefer. So initiating that with a hinge and squatting down as low as feels comfortable. Front squat requires more mobility as you're trying to maintain an upright torso. Then we have the overhead squat, which again is more mobility needed again through the thoracic, the hips and the ankles, trying to keep the chest lifted and those arms straight. Next we have the shrimp squat, which is a great one leg progression. So initially you can perform a negative, so lowering down with control to the shin and then coming back with a full squat. Progress this to a reduced range of motion shin shrimp, so you're using a step or some blocks just to reduce the range there, making sure that working leg, the knee is not caving inwards, nice and steady. Then progress that to the shin shrimp. It's hard to say. So you're just lowering the full shin down to the floor. And our next progression then is the full shrimp. So you're tucking your heel into your bum and lowering the knee to the floor with control. So really gently touching the floor with that knee. You can make things harder by increasing the range of motion. So doing the full shrimp or the shin shrimp, using a step or some blocks to elevate your standing leg, increase that range of motion. You can also add weight through a backpack or some dumbbells. Again, you could do this on the elevated surface too, to really take things to the next level. Next up we have the pistol squat, another great single leg exercise. So I'd advise starting with negatives. So you're just slowly lowering with control to that bottom position and coming up in a full squat. You can also spend some time in the pistol bottom position, just build some strength in that bottom position, which is kind of often quite hard to get out of when you're just starting pistol squat. Just accumulate some time there. You can then also use some assisted pistols, so using some rings or an upright. You're just having a bit of assistance on the negative and the concentric portion. Then progress to the full pistol, so extending the non-standing leg out in front. And you can add weight, whether it's holding a kettlebell or through a backpack. Next we have another good unilateral exercise, the lunge. It's a reverse lunge I quite like using. So trying to maintain stability through that front knee and an upright torso. You can also go forward, front lunge, which is quite useful for deceleration, building that capacity. Then we have the side lunge or Cossack squat. It can be a little bit higher up than this. You can also progress down to really low Cossack squats. Great one for building lateral movement capacity and opening up through the adductors. Then we have clock lunges, which is essentially a lunge in all the positions of a clock. So going front, diagonal, side. Which is a nice one to mix things up and move in different planes. You can add weights obviously to our lunges, holding dumbbells, using a barbell, kettlebells, backpack, whatever you've got available. And then the same for Cossack squats as well. And then move on to some split squats. So one of my favorite unilateral exercises. You can use the front raise split squat to improve hip flexion on that front leg. So you just sit in your weight forward and down. The knee can go past the toe if it feels safe for you. You can elevate the rear leg to really open up the hip flexor, so hip extension on the back leg. One of my favorite exercises. You can also perform split squats on the ground if you have the prerequisite mobility. So they're a really nice one for opening up the hip flexors and open up into hip flexion. You can raise both the front and the rear leg to increase the range of motion, make things a bit more challenging, and to improve your mobility even further. It's a nice way to build strength and mobility and flexibility at the same time. And then you can add weight, just like a lot of these other progressions, via dumbbells, backpack, weighted vest, whatever works for you, whatever you've got available to you at the moment. The step up is another nice variation that has some transfer over to a lot of these other movements. So you can perform just basic step ups to a bench. Obviously the higher you go, the more difficult this is going to be. You can take some of the weight off the standing foot by going up onto the toes, the top of the toes. You want to be careful with this one, but that means you have to take more weight into the working leg, which makes it more challenging. You can also add weight through dumbbells, backpack, weighted vest, partner to make it a bit more difficult. And then, as I said, you can increase the range of motion with deep step-ups. Probably want to go for a more stable setup than I did here. But yeah, as a general rule of thumb, more range of motion is going to be more difficult. You're going to get more of a response. Next, we have some basic plyo movements. So you want to build some capacity with the basic progressions we've gone through already before you mess around with jump squats like this. So ideally, we have some of the prerequisite strength and mechanics to control the landing. A depth jump can be used to kind of use that rebound effect, so you drop down from a small height and then spring back up. It's a nice one for building explosiveness. And the broad jump is a nice one as well, so you're looking to go for length as opposed to height. Using the arms, using the whole body to explode. Jump lunges, nice way to build some unilateral power and explosiveness. For the plyo exercises, I would be keeping the reps low and looking for maximum explosiveness. Then I have a few basic exercises for the calves, so simple calf raises to build a little bit of strength there. It's useful if you are a runner. You do a lot of barefoot running to build strength in the calves. And then to increase the range of motion, again, it's going to make the exercise a little bit harder, and you're also going to improve mobility whilst you're building strength as well, which is ideal. Jump rope as well, another great way just to build strength through the calves and get a little bit of elasticity and bounce. Then we've got a few skills and miscellaneous exercises I thought I'd throw in. So we've got a crossover shrimp, which is a progression towards the dragon squat. Be careful with this one if you have knee issues. So we're just lowering the shin down to the floor, but on the opposite side of the body, as opposed to on the same side with the shrimp. Then you can do this elevated to increase the range of motion. And this is a nice way to progress towards the dragon squat. It's not in my practice at the moment, so maybe best to look elsewhere for that. And similarly for the sissy squat, this is a useful prerequisite or progression. So lowering down to the knees from a deep squat. But yeah, I'll link to some tutorials below for those last two movement patterns if you want to incorporate them into your practice. Hope this video was useful to you. If you got any questions or comments, then leave them down below. Subscribe if you would like more videos like this. And yeah, hope you have a healthy, heroic week. I'll catch you soon.